What's up, guys? It's been kind of a crazy couple of weeks for me, so I'm sorry the posting has been a little less than what it should be. I'm in Seattle right now, and once I'm done with this, I'll kind of show you the view from my room because this place is awesome. What I want to talk to you about today, though, is this really... Okay, I love it when I have a concept that I've started to flesh out a little bit, and then as I learn more, then I can see how it applies to other things that I'm fleshing out and that I start to teach you guys, and that's happened recently. I want to talk to you about it. Before I can do that, you have to know about aesthetic inertia. If you want to see the entire video on aesthetic inertia, link up here, go check it out. I will wait until you can do that and come back. If you just want the brief synopsis, basically aesthetic inertia is the idea that most men will establish a style at some point in their lives, whether that's high school or college, maybe right when they're fresh out of college, at some point when they're at their most confident, and then they will continue to dress like that for the rest of their lives, irrespective of any changes or the fact that that wardrobe no longer benefits them. So I'm not just figuring this out as I go along, but this is actually a manifestation of something that I've seen elsewhere. I've been going through a book called Influence. Go check this out. Everything I've read thus far, and I'm not super deep into it, but everything I've read thus far is really, really cool, really good stuff. And you will see more of those concepts as I can dive into them further within their application of style. But one of the things that the author talks about is that we as people like to see ourselves as consistent. Consistency is a huge way in which we like to define ourselves. And as we get a little bit older, and especially for us as Americans, at least, I'm American, and I know that the majority of my viewers are, but especially for us as Americans, where we value the individual more than we value the collective or the tribe, consistency is a huge thing, because that's where integrity comes from, because that's basically how we define ourselves in a world that doesn't define us, and so consistency is huge. And I've realized, as I've been listening to him talk about the value of consistency and how you can use a person's consistency to exert influence on them, that has a huge application with this concept of aesthetic inertia. I kind of unfairly have said aesthetic inertia is because guys have peaked and they want to hold on to the point in which they peaked and they've just gone downhill, or they believe that they can't get any better. And I think some of that is true for a lot of men, but really what it comes down to is we want to be consistent. And as we get older and as we get more established in who we are and we become less experimental in our ways, then consistency becomes even more valuable and even more appropriate. And so aesthetic consistency is huge. It's why so many men in their 20s will hold on to the way that they dressed kind of before everything starts to happen. I mean, you think about a typical guy in his 20s and what he goes through. He graduates from high school, he'll go on to college, he'll probably get his first real job, he'll date his first serious girlfriend. A lot of guys will get married at that point, and whether it's in your mid-20s or your late 20s, that's the point where a lot of guys actually start having kids as well. The way that your life is at 20 versus the way your life is at 30 or 35, completely different. Completely different, and they should be. And so it should come as no surprise that when you're going through all this tumult and all this craziness, that you want to hold on to whatever consistency you can. And one way that I believe that men can do that is by continuing to dress in the same way that they always have. I think that's also why it's really uncomfortable and difficult for a lot of guys to change their style, because it's such an obvious external projection of inconsistency. That's why it's so easy to take it personally when people treat you differently just because of the way you dress, or when someone calls you a sellout, or they say, oh, look at you in that suit, or anything else, because basically, you don't really care about the way that you look. You don't care about the fact that they think you look good or bad. You just care about the fact that you look different. And what that's communicating is inconsistency. So how do you take this and actually apply this to your benefit? Well, one, I think that the best thing that you can do is take advantage of the fact that your 20s are supposed to be a time of inconsistency. Honestly, I think even in your 30s, I'm 32 and my life is still hugely inconsistent. There's a lot of changes that are going on. And I would rather define my consistency with what my morals are, what kind of a father I am, or what kind of a husband I am, what kind of a friend I am. And I'm okay with the fact that I'll dress a little bit differently. In fact, some of my consistency has become that I'm the guy who dresses a little bit differently. Because I'll tell you, 10 years ago, certainly 15 years ago, I was not dressing the way that I am. I had to slowly make that transition from dressing like a skate punk into wearing a suit every single day. And it was not an easy transition. So that's the second thing that I would tell you to take away from it is if you are worried about that inconsistency and you want to hold on to what you can, then make those aesthetic changes gradually. There's no reason to feel like you have to go from A to B within the matter of a few months. You can do just a few gradual changes at a time, and you can even embrace different aspects of dressing well that still fall within what it is that you're trying to say when you dress a certain way. You can dress better as a skate punk than you probably are now. You can dress better in a suit than you probably are now. You can dress better in your casual clothes, in your gym clothes. Really, you can dress better with whatever it is that you're wearing probably than you are now. And rather than it changing your entire story, your entire tribal affiliation, rather than it changing who you are that you're projecting out into the world, you're just improving it. So it doesn't have to be this drastic 180-degree change. And even if it's just degree after degree after degree after degree, because you know that you're here and you want to get here, but you do it slowly, then that way by the time you get over there, it's not this huge crazy thing. Now some guys, that's what they need, and that's why you see guys who they're kind of thrown into crazy inconsistency in their lives. They go through divorce, they move to a new part of the world or something, and it makes more sense to say, at this point in my life, I'm going to start over. I don't have to worry about being consistent because nobody in the world knows who I am, or because my life is so crazy and upside down right now that my aesthetic consistency doesn't matter at all. And so they take that as an opportunity to embrace it. So if you're going through that, embrace it. But honestly, what it always comes down to, always comes down to is all these big important things that you're doing in your life. These things that are way more important than anything you and I ever talk about. How can you use your style to accomplish those goals? Is that aesthetic consistency or that aesthetic inertia, is that helping you accomplish those goals? Or is it hindering you from doing it? Because that's one problem with this innate desire to be consistent, is consistency comes at the expense of progress. It comes at the expense of ambition. And so you don't want to have it be this automated response of, I can't do B because I've always done A, especially if B is better. What you want to do is be able to recognize in yourself that you will want to do A, even if it's better to do B, and you have to consciously make the decision to choose to do B. For a lot of guys, myself included, choosing to change the way that I dress helped me get comfortable with the idea of taking control of my own consistency or inconsistency as opposed to letting it run my own life for me. So, figure out where you are. Decide if you're consistent, if you want to be. Decide if it's helping you or if it's hurting you. And then decide if your clothing can be a tool to help you improve that. Oh, and by the way, this view that I'm talking about, check this out. This is where I am staying for the night. Not too shabby, right? I'll see you next time.